My name is Matt Crandell. I'm President and CEO of Automation Control Products. And I'm going to present the keynote this morning. So we're going to get started here in just a minute. But before I do, I kind of want to go through a couple of things that we're going to be doing. I'm going to spend about an hour this morning doing a little pre-presentation of the technology that we've got coming. And then we're going to take a lunch break, and then we're going to come back. And I'm actually going to do a live demonstration of the product technology. And this is beta, pre-beta? I don't know, we can call it pre-beta. I want this to be more or less casual. I want you to feel comfortable at the end of my presentation, both presentations, to ask questions. I have a lot of staff here who are going to be able to answer your questions, so this is the perfect time to do that. During the rest of the time that you're here with us at Thindustrial13, if you have questions about what we're doing here, if you'd like to come up and see some of it, if you'd like to spend some time with any of our developers, we do have those guys here, and you want to talk to them about things you think should be in the product and things you think we should add in the future, we'd love to hear that as well. This is an open environment. We like to be open, unstructured, so that you guys can give us your feedback. We have a lot of very important customers here. We have a lot of our partners here. We have our sponsors here. All of your feedback helps us advance the product. So we'd really like to hear your feedback as we go along. So let's get started here. Before I do, I've been really busy this week. I mean, it's been like a month, to be honest with you. Getting this prepared and, preparing my keynote presentation and working through, all the stuff that comes along with releasing a new product or talking about new product or demonstrating it that you're going to be releasing within the next 3 or 4 months. And so I'm kind of behind on my bills at home. Okay, so I got this stack here that I'd like to go through and just take a second. I don't want to imposition you. So if you'll just pardon me, I'm going to take care of this. Just campaign information from Congressional District 7. Irrelevant. Let's see here, land in North Georgia. $9,995. Not really interested. Utility bill, that's probably important. I'm going to keep that one. That's relevant stuff. I'm going to keep that. Hairball treatments, $15 off. I don't like cats anyways. Another utility bill, we can keep that. That's probably important. And let's see. Citibank, 2 times dining and entertainment. Does anybody need a credit card? I don't need a credit card. That's irrelevant. Great, we got that taken care of. So let's move on. So what about this tablet stuff? What about all this hype? Tablets, mobile computing. Is this stuff real? I mean, really, is it real? Well, if you take a look, Gartner Group's latest research study on this came out in June of this year. Kind of looks real, doesn't it? I mean, if you just look at this alone, just look at number of tablets versus number of PCs that are going to be sold in 2014 in their estimation. Look at the growth pattern, 120,000, 201,000, 276,000 tablets over the course of the last 2 years. It's going like this, while Michael Dell can tell you PCs, and that's not just desktop PCs, that's desktops plus notebooks. So tablets are going to be outselling PCs on a monthly basis next year. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty real. Don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger, guys. I'm just the messenger. This is going to happen. Not just commercially, not just at home, sitting in bed, watching Netflix on your iPad. Not just your kids, but you. You and manufacturing. This is going to happen. This is a reality. This is an inflection point. This is a change in direction that makes this very different than this. Now look, I'm not advocating that we all go out and throw our PCs in the trash. That's not going to happen. We're not going to throw away all the PCs that we've invested in. We're not going to throw away all the software that goes with those PCs. What I'm advocating is a mixed use environment. industrialized PCs, industrialized thin clients, and tablets, mobile devices, on the plant floor. A mixed-use environment where the platform overall is more functional because of the mobile devices. It's an additive process. Eventually, will we see more mobile devices on the plant floor than PCs? I don't know. That's conjecture. I would assume so. Yes, I believe that. And I think as we grow closer and closer to this technology, I think we probably will all agree that. That's very possible. Very possible. So what's a factory look like in 2013? Now, to do this demonstration, I'm going to actually build a factory. Let's take a look at a factory. Let's build a lemonade factory, okay? We're going to build a lemonade factory. And in my lemonade factory, I'm going to have 4 zones, 1 line. Just going to build 1 line. I'll make this simple. Now, I know there are a lot of other things that could be inside of my factory, but I'm going to talk about a cleaning zone, a filling and capping zone, a labeling zone, and a packing zone. So we're going to make lemonade in this facility, and we got these 4 zones. We're going to need an operator, at least one. Let's just look at one for now. Oscar, the operator. So here's Oscar, the operator. Oscar is going to need some visualization systems. And so over here on packing, we're just going to put an industrialized PC. Okay? And then over here on cleaning, we're going to put a thin client terminal. Here's my thin client terminal. It's actually this one right over here. It's a little Arista embedded, ACP enabled, ThinManager ready, thin client terminal. And then we're going to need an application to run on that terminal. In this case, I'm going to use the HMI, right, for cleaning. I'm just going to apply that to the terminal. Now, in a ThinManager environment, we're going to have terminal servers, right? And we're going to run ThinManager to manage the terminal servers and the clients that connect to them, okay? So the applications are going to run on the terminal servers, and the clients, right, are going to display those applications. If we've moved up to the mobile world already, we're going to use ITMC, and we're going to have operators that carry around iPads, right? So they can go from place to place with their iPads and see their visualization. In this case, I'm showing the cleaning agent. So that's my factory in 2013. It's a mixed-use environment, right? I've already got industrialized PCs, and I already have industrialized thin clients. So what's the content? What is this stuff that I'm running on my terminal servers and viewing on my clients? Well, the content is the stuff that you require to manage your environment. So we're going to start with this cleaning HMI, that's content, right? And then we've got, let's say, a work order system that we're going to use. So here's a little more content. Let's bring this work order system over here. And then let's look at maybe a motor schematic. Get our motor schematic up here. And then let's say, let's pull over some more content. Let's pull out an AC/DC variable speed drive documentation. These are 4 pieces of content that we're going to work with in our environment. They help us manage our environment. So we're going to manage our environment with this content. Where does it come from? Where does this content come from? In a ThinManager world, I've already talked about terminal servers, right? But I can also have content from IP cameras, and I can have content from terminal to terminal shadows. So I have different types of content that I can provide to my end users. Now, terminal shadows most commonly are going to be, say, in a control room, right? And you're going to shadow maybe 20 terminals in your environment. You're going to have one thin client that looks at all 20 of them. Maybe you have multi-monitors. IP cameras, you're going to place them out there, and you're going to direct them at something that you want to see, right? And then you're going to apply them as displays to your terminals. And then obviously terminal servers, you're going to run Windows applications. So that is my content in this environment. So ThinManager, in reality, is a content delivery system. So I have my terminal servers, I have my ThinManager managing it, I have my user here, this operator, he has his terminal, and then I'm going to deliver my application, right, which is running on my terminal server, to my user. So here it is on my terminal server, and I'm going to deliver it to the user's device right over here. Okay? So this is a content delivery system. That's what ThinManager is. It's a content delivery system. Once we had created a content delivery system that delivered content from the terminal servers to the users, we then said, well, there's users that have tethered terminals, right? They're kind of strapped to the process. And then there's users like maybe the maintenance person who actually moves throughout the environment. They may do their job anywhere, right? So this person may be here, maybe here, could be anywhere in my environment. I want to be able to assign content to that user. In the case of the work order system, that's going to be assigned to the maintenance user, right? Now, a maintenance user as a person can't display the work order system. They have to authenticate to a terminal, right, to display that work order system. But it's the same thing. It's a content delivery system. And the content is the work order system, and the assigned person that you're going to deliver it to is the maintenance person. So in our environment in ThinManager, we created this paradigm. And this paradigm was, I have devices, right, in this environment, and I have users in this environment. Devices and users. So my devices and users are basically my destination for content. This is where I put my content. I put my content to a device, or I put my content to a user. Okay, this is where we stop the speech. This is where the paradigm shifts. This is where you gotta think differently. In the past, when I walked up to an HMI system and used it on this device wasn't going anywhere. The content was directed to the device. Is the content about the device? We're entering a mobile age now. My user, my operator, yeah, he may be in cleaning right now, but he may be in packing 10 minutes from now. If I deliver the content to the user, what's that mean to me? Well, let's talk about mobile device utilization today. Let's talk about ITMC, for instance. We deliver content to the device, right? We deliver the content to the device. Well, what if my user went home? That's interesting. I've got the HMI software running on my iPad, and I go home. Is that a good thing? Is that okay? Can I start and stop the line from home? Do you want to start and stop the line from home? Can I start and stop the line from the lunchroom? Is that relevant? Does that make sense? Is that a good thing? If you say, sure, that's a good thing, I'll tell you what, here's the deal. There are many, many applications available for the iPad online today that cost very little. I mean, you've got one that's $11.99 there. There's a remote desktop that's $5.99. There's one that's free. Heck, use the free one. Configure your device and deliver your content anywhere you want, and who cares what the device is, and who cares where it lands, and who cares what the content is when it gets there, and who cares who pushes the button, and who cares when they push it. Really? Is that reality? That's a 99-cent solution. Is that what you're going to do in your environment? No. The answer is no. I know the answer. The answer is no. We're not going to do it. Mobile has to be done right. Effective mobile computing requires a new content delivery paradigm. Period. You just deliver mobile, you haven't delivered a solution. Yeah, I can take my stuff with me. Yeah, I can watch Netflix at home in my bed. But can I run the plant from my bed? Is that reality? Is that how I want to manage my environment? I can deliver information. Is all the information relevant? You know what? Most of my mail wasn't relevant. Wouldn't it be great if I didn't even get that mail? Wouldn't it be great if I didn't get all the campaign slogans? Wouldn't it be great if I didn't get all the furball treatments? What if I just got what I needed, when and where I needed it? That's what mobility needs to be about. Yeah, it's great to be mobile, but you want to get what you need, where and when you need it. And we have to start with the concept about. All right, so we have a new technology coming out called Relevance that delivers what you need, where and when you need it. And it starts with the word about. Let's look at our plan. So we had this HMI, right? The cleaning HMI. And we were going to deliver this cleaning HMI to our operator, right? Who had a terminal. And that terminal was on a line. So here it is, terminal. We'll put it right up there by the line. Put a little operator up there. Is this cleaning HMI about the terminal that I delivered to? Is that what it's about? Is it about the user that I deliver it to? No, neither. That HMI is about the cleaning zone. The content is about the cleaning zone. Just as if I took a motor and stuck it over here in the packing zone, and then I had content, the motor schematic. That is about the motor. It's not about the terminal. It's not about the user. It's about the motor. Content is about what we call I'll pick it up here. The location. This content, motor schematic, is about this motor. This cleaning HMI is about the cleaning zone. The zone is a location. The motor is an object, is a location. Content is about locations. This is the paradigm shift. You have to stop thinking about content having been assigned to a device being about the device. That device is tethered. An iPad, that's not tethered. An Android, that's not tethered. Content floats up here. It's out there in our working world. We need it to do our job. But it's about the different locations in your facility. That's what it's about. So get that paradigm in your head, and as we talk this through, what we're going to build is an environment where you get what you need, where and when you need it. So how do we do this? Let's build a relevance environment. Let's build it. Step one, we got to develop a location hierarchy. Okay? So here's my line right here, right? I've got up here a line. I'm going to add to it a motor. So there's my motor. You know what? I'm going to add a PLC as well. I'm going to put a PLC on the line. I'm going to pull out this list of locations. This is an example of a location hierarchy. At the very top of the hierarchy is my whole plant. I walk in the plant, I'm in a location, right? The plant. As I move through the plant, let's say I have one line in this plant. I could have two. Let's say I have one line. It's got cleaning, fill and cap, labeling, and packing. So the child underneath the parent, the factory, are my lines, and then perhaps under my lines are my zones. In this case, I have one line, so I don't have a listed line. I could have two, I could have five. Inside of my zones, I may have other objects, like in this case, ControlLogix PLC and a conveyor motor. These are all locations within my environment. My first step is to create a location hierarchy. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to talk about a couple of things here. Number one, if I'm at the motor, right? If I'm right here at the motor, where else am I? Well, my parent is the packing zone. I must be at the packing zone. Where else am I? Well, my parent, the packing zone, is the lemonade factory. I must be in the factory, correct? So that hierarchy actually is resolution. Least resolution at the top, greatest resolution at the bottom. The more I know, the more I can do. Step two, assign content to locations. So again, here are my locations in my factory. Here's my content. I'm just using some example pieces of content. So I've got a cleaning HMI, packing HMI, motor schematic, pack drive manual, work order system, ControlLogix software. So let's assign them. Cleaning HMI, that's pretty obvious. It goes to the cleaning zone, right? It's about the cleaning zone. Packing HMI, it's about the packing zone. Pack motor schematic, well, that's probably about the conveyor motor in the packing zone, and the drive manual is probably about the conveyor motor. I may have had a drive object. I could have had a drive object. The work order system, oh, that's an interesting one. What's that about? Okay, well, that's really for the maintenance people. Well, operators probably aren't going to use it, so it's for the maintenance people. Where do the maintenance people need it? Everywhere. So it could be about the plant. Now, we talked about device and user and stripping away that content and saying, let's put it at location. There is owned by users, owned content. Let me give you an example. Email. Why is it owned? Because it's personal. It doesn't belong to a location, it belongs to a person. It's about the person. So you could say the work order system is about the factory, or you could actually assign it directly to a user. You can do that. In Relevance, you can do that. The ControlLogix software, well, obviously that's about the PLC, right? Next step, resolve locations. We got to figure out where these things are. So we have to use what are called resolvers. I'm going to pull some resolvers out for you. 4 that we're going to talk about today. Quick response code, that's QRC. Near field communication, NFC. Bluetooth beacons, and GPS. Obviously, all of you know what GPS is. We use that all the time. So, inside our factory, we're going to resolve things. And I'm just going to pull a few things out here to talk about. I'm going to start with active resolvers. Why do we call them active? Well, if you've got a QRC code and it's affixed to something, how do you resolve that you're there at the QRC code? You have to scan it. That's an active event. You have to actually scan it. What about NFC? NFC is near field communication. By the way, currently not available in the iPads. They have NFC coming very soon. It's called like iBeacon or something. But that's also active to the point where you have to put it within a certain range, like about 10 inches. You have to actually get close to it. Then we have the passive variety. Bluetooth beacons are passive. You get near them and they see you. GPS obviously is passive. We've got that in our cars. Everywhere you go, it pretty much finds you. So these are our resolvers. And there's 2 things that we're going to use resolvers for. Number 1, assigning content. So content, as you can see over here, I've got my motor. The motor has content, right? So it's the schematic we talked about earlier. And it's the drive that we talked about earlier as well. So we're going to pull the drive documentation over here. And it's for finding a user or device. And we're going to talk about landmarks. Okay, there's 2 concepts here. Assigning content and finding things. So we got to resolve where you are to give you what you need, right? You got to resolve where you are to give you what you need. If you're over by the packing area, we want to resolve that you're there so that we can deliver you information, content about the packing area. Number two, we got to figure out where you are in the big wide world. Landmarking. Let's talk about this landmarking thing. If I were to call from the front office of the plant to the back office, or the back area in the plant itself, and I call Bob and I say, Bob, where are you in the plant? Does Bob respond to me with, well, I'm 20 feet from the west wall and 16 feet from the north wall? Bob, are you on drugs? Come on, Bob doesn't respond that way. Bob says, I'm at the packing zone on line 1, right? Bob uses landmarks to tell you where he is. And if he gives you a landmark location, you know where it is. You do the associative in your mind and you go, I know where that is. You don't say to yourself, I know where that is. That's 16 feet from the north wall and 20 feet from the west wall. You don't do that. You know the landmark. You know the context of the entire environment. And that landmark just found Bob for you. So when you're out there trying to find a way to find people in your environment, you find them with landmarks. And we're going to provide you those landmarks through relevance. We're going to enable you to find people in reality. We're not going to give you cartography. We're going to give you the ability to understand where people are at any given time. So we've got content association, and we've got finding users and devices through resolving locations. Okay, now we're going to apply the resolvers in our environment. Okay, so we've got these locations. We've got cleaning, fill and cap, label, pack, and then we have these locations that are really objects. We've got a packing conveyor motor, and we've got a PLC in the labeling area. And then we have these resolvers. So here's a resolver. It's a QR code. I'm going to put this QR code on that motor. Then when my user scans that motor, it's going to associate that to the location, right, which is the conveyor motor. If there's content that's been assigned to the conveyor motor, I can then pass the content on to my user. You know what else? I know where my user is. They're at the packing motor in the packing zone inside the lemonade factory. So I've got NFC. I can apply NFC to my PLC. And I've got Bluetooth. Now, Bluetooth I would want to use for something of a larger size. A greater resolution is for QRC. But a larger resolution, a lesser resolution, a bigger is for something like Bluetooth. So if I come within range of the packing zone, I know if and when I arrive. And then I can assign the content to the packing zone. Could the content of the packing zone include the content of the motor? Yes, it actually could include the content of the motor because it's within the packing zone. All right, so that's applying resolvers. Let's add one more here. Resolver actions. There are 3 actions we're going to talk about when we resolve location and assign content. Okay, so I have my user and my device. I'm walking around. I walk up to a zone and I scan a QR code. It says, oh, for this zone, I actually have information. And in this case, we'll talk about the HMI for the cleaning zone. How does that user want that information to come to them? Well, the first resolver action is transfer. It's going to transfer to your device. It's going to take it away from its existing device because it was just there as a location. Remember, location content is floating in the air. By default, it was sitting on the terminal. Now it needs to be with my user. And then the user can walk around the facility with it. So that's a transfer. There are 2 types of transfers. There's a forced transfer that says, just give me it. And then there's a requested transfer that says, can I have it? And then there's timeouts associated with that. So you may say, can I have it? And the user says, well, 15 seconds from now, I've got to finish out pushing this button and closing that door. So those are the 2 types of transfer. Number 2 is clone. What clone does is it says, okay, this location content is already running, or maybe it's not running at all, but it's a terminal server display client configuration, right? I want you to start another instance, another session with the same display client configuration, and then give it to me. That way you can have 2 independent sessions running simultaneously of the same application without taking the application away from one user, transferring it to yourself to use it. So you have 2 people using it. Now, first question that always comes up, we talk about that, is that going to take another license? Go talk to your channel member here who's with us. They'd be happy to talk to you about licensing. That's not our game. That's about HMI licensing, and that's their thing. So they can handle that with you. Number 3, I can shadow that location. So the location could be present on the device, or maybe it's not even present on any device. It's floating out there as content in our big wide world, and I can see what's happening on that content. So if it's actually active on a screen, I get basically a shadow of that screen, and I can walk around with it. 2 types of shadow, interactive and non-interactive. So if you want a shadow, but you don't want them to be able to control anything, you do a non-interactive shadow, and then they can watch what's going on without interacting. Remember I talked about mobile computing. Is it okay to have a 99-cent application to do an RDP session on an iPad? Sure. Do you want to be configuring it every time and trying to figure out what application you want to get to on what server? And then say, okay, that's the one I want. And then when you get it and you move, all of a sudden it's no longer relevant and you have to change it? All of this, these actions, the content delivery, the location services, add up to a completely new paradigm for mobile computing. One that works, one that makes sense, one that you can actually use, one that you can apply. So relevance is what you need, when and where you need it. Maybe you're here at the cleaning zone, maybe you're not. You could be moving to the fill and cap zone. Give me the fill and cap HMI. I could be in labeling. Give me labeling. I could have different types of users in my environment. Yeah, I might have an operator, but I might have a supply person. And if they enter the packing zone, yeah, they want the packing HMI, but they also want the supply information for that zone. Or I could be a maintenance person. The moment I walk in the plant is the moment I want my work order system. But when I go to cleaning, I may need the cleaning HMI in addition to my work order system. I may need documentation about the cleaning HMI. Content, what I need, where and when I need it. Now, let's talk about that issue I pointed out earlier. What if I go home? What if I go home? I might actually want to see stuff. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying just because you can't take the HMI home and push a button to start the engine. I'm not saying you shouldn't have the availability of plant visualization at home at all. Maybe it's non-interactive, whatever. But if you're going to go home and your data, your content, your information resides at your facility, how do you connect to it at home? How does that happen? This is product number 2, anywhere access. So let's build an anywhere access environment. So I have my headquarters, and I'll represent that with a little building here, a really swank-looking building. And then I'm going to say that my building runs on Wi-Fi. And in my building, I have content servers. Here are my terminal servers, content servers, and I'm using ThinManager. I always do. And I've got some applications running there for my local user. Here he is, nice guy. He's my local user here in my building. That's all well and good. But what if I have a field? And I have operations in the field. Like what if I have oil rigs? So I got oil rig 16, oil rig 49, and oil rig 68. And what if I have operators out in the field? And they need to see information about these oil rigs. But the content servers aren't stationed at the oil rigs. They're back in the headquarters. How do I get to the content that I need that for 16 is running over here, that for 49 is running over here, and that for 68 is running over here? How do I get to that content while I'm over here in the field, moving around? You get to that through Anywhere Access. We like to call it the ThinManager Cloud. This gives you the ability to share this information out into the field, right? And view this information at your client. Well, how do I resolve where I am in the field? Well, actually, this is where GPS comes in. What we do is we set a GPS coordinate, a landmark. Now, when we've been talking about setting these landmarks, these locators, these resolvers, QRC code, NFC, GPS, I really haven't told you how that happens. It's really simply walking up to it with your iPad or with your Android device and snapping a scan of the QR code, for instance, and then labeling it, then going back into the ThinManager and associating it back to the location in the location hierarchy you created. Same way with GPS. You snap a landmark when you're at the exact location you want to be at. You set a range within which that works. And then when you enter that range, it associates it back to the content assigned to that location. So this isn't just about a 99-cent RDP application on an iPhone, an iPad, or an Android device. This is a totally new paradigm. What you need, when and where you need it. So, these technologies, these two technologies that we talked about, relevance and Anywhere Access, bring us into the mobile computing age in the industrial environment. It delivers mobile computing in a way we can use it. So how does this run in a Windows or in a ThinManager environment? Well, first off, it runs on 7.0. But we don't have 7.0 yet. We've got 6.0 XLI. Well, let's talk about 7.0 briefly. 7.0 is our upcoming release. Not only is it going to include support for relevance and support for Anywhere Access, it's also going to include a total redesign of the interface. Now, you might, I've had somebody ask the question, oh my goodness, I'm used to the other interface. I'm used to the 6.0 XLI interface. Does this mean I'm going to be totally lost? No, what this does is it revamps the interface to bring it up to what is ergonomically accepted, what is more commonplace ergonomically in applications like Excel. For instance, in Excel, you have a ribbon bar at the top. In ThinManager 7.0, you have a ribbon bar. In Outlook, you have this tab bar section. So we've created a tab bar section. You also, in many applications, have the ability to tear away tabs. So we've added the ability to tear away tabs. Now, when we're talking about shadow tabs, that's pretty cool because you can go to a terminal, tear away the shadow, go to another terminal, tear that one away, and now you can multi-shadow out of ThinManager. Also, when you do these tearaways, you can take those sections, those windows, and you can pull them back into the interface and put them in different areas. So you can have the shadow up here, the modules over here, and the rest of the tabs down here, for instance. You get to lay out your design any way you like it. So you can pull things out and see things simultaneously, or you can pull them all back in and have them in different areas, or you can use the same old look and feel that we've been using with just hitting the tabs. So it's a redesign of the interface. This 7.0 release will be out February 3rd, simultaneous with Relevance, Anywhere Access, and Android ITMC. And when I say Android ITMC, I'm using ITMC, which is the iOS version, to represent that it is the same functionality that you're going to get from your iPhone or iPad. So with your Android device, you're going to be able to do exactly what you do today. Okay, so we will be bringing that to the stage. All right, so this is the first part of my presentation. I'm not done. First off, I'm going to let you ask some questions. We're going to go to lunch after this, and then when you come back, I'm going to demonstrate relevance. you're going to get to see everything I've been talking about. I'm going to show you how locations work. I'm going to show you how resolvers work. I'm going to show you 6 use cases for this technology. So let's start off by asking questions. Does anybody have any questions about what I've shown so far? This is a big group. You've got to have some questions. Our channel members had a lot of questions. Anybody have any questions?
For beta testers for certain?
We actually are talking about perhaps doing it a beta program, but obviously right now we're kind of in a pre-beta stage. If you want to talk to somebody about that, this gentleman right over here, Chris Ryan, can raise his hand. Chris would be happy to talk to you about that. Anybody else? Yes?
So will this new technology only affect the folks who are on the XLI bill? If the folks who are on the legacy ThinManager, will any of these be part of that?
The legacy users will get the 7.0 new interface design, but you will not be able to use relevance or anywhere access with that version. You'll have to upgrade to XLI 6.0, and if you're on comp support, then you'll get 7.0 XLI automatically. It'll deliver to you. There's no additional cost if you're on comp support. 7.0 XLI will just deliver. Same with 6.0 to 7.0 will just deliver.
Thank you.
Someone over here, yeah.
What about integration to Active Directory and security context?
Okay, two things. Very good. We actually are starting a program to create for Active Directory a user intake so that you can, an API that you can use to import, if you will. It's not really an API. To be able to import users as well as asset management. We'll have a file format created so that you can import assets as locations. That is really important. That will happen in 2014. It won't be in the first release. It'll come somewhere along the road in 2014. So February 3rd, you won't see that quite yet. There is some Active Directory integration that's coming out February 3rd for password. That's a separate discussion that we can take offline. There's an individual, Randy Kennedy, over here on the side that can talk to you about that. Yes?
Just a personal question, is it going to be import or is it going to be synchronization?
It'll be an import. Because there are other systems and on assets, especially on asset, synchronization might be able to happen in the Active Directory format, but for asset management, obviously, we'll have to do these in import. So there will be a specification written, and when we have that specification, we'll go ahead and commit to that. So if you've got an export feature in asset management, we'll have a format you have to follow. So simple as that.
Is there any particular type of work order system that they could be using, such as Maximo or anything like that?
Nope, they can use anything you want. As long as it's a Windows-based application. Yeah.
What about networking? If you have lines or say their own subnet, VLANs and things like that, how would anywhere access the other technologies traverse that?
Are you asking if you can use anywhere access as a VLAN, kind of like an internal version of anywhere access?
Right. Well, I mean, if you've got machines,
talk
say
about
for OEMs, have their own subnet in your plant,
Yeah.
controlling all that through switches and different VLANs.
That's another offline conversation that if you can talk to either Randy or Tim on, they'd be happy to talk to you about that. You know Randy? Randy, can raise your hand. There you go. Anybody else? Okay, I got one more thing to add. We have a who, what, when, where, a concept that we use. The only thing I really haven't talked about is when. And I'm going to put this out there because we already are working on a specification for this. Let's say there's an event that occurs in your facility, right? And you want that event to trigger content to a specific user with a specific skill set. The way the system relevance works, you can set up users who effectively have skill sets. When they go somewhere, they get a set of applications or content. When somebody else goes to that same place, they get a different set of applications or content because they're different users. You know, a supply person needs something different than an operator, like I said earlier. But what if something occurs within the process that you need to kind of go out and get them? Well, since you have resolvers, you have location. So the idea is we're going to provide an API, probably be in multiple forms, like a .NET API or OCX API, whatever. And that API is going to allow you to set a trigger within relevance that says, hey, I got a problem. There's a fault on one of the devices. I need a maintenance person. Go find me the closest maintenance person with the correct skill set to fix this problem. And oh, by the way, send them this content. I need this content sent to them notified, hey, you're the closest one to this. Then obviously we'll provide an interface on the mobile device side that says, can you actually handle this event? If they say no, then it'll go find the next closest person with that skill set to fix that problem, send them the content, and ask them to come fix it. So event triggers are going to come later on in 2014. It is definitely something we're already in the midst of working on. It's just for this release. There's going to be a certain amount of effort in changing your paradigm, and we understand that. There'll be a lot of education that goes along with saying, okay, it's no longer about the tethered terminal, it's about this mobile device. Because it's about this mobile device, we have to create location and location content and assignment and all the other things that go around this. This is, building an infrastructure for mobility. And for those who say we're going mobile, I think this is going to hit a chord. I mean, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing I need. For those of you who say right now, I don't want to go mobile, we understand that completely. I mean, it's a process. This is a mixed-use environment. We don't expect everybody to just overnight throw away all of their PCs. That's not how it happens. But our expectation is that the things that we're doing are needs. What you need, when and where you need it. That's what it's about.